Hello, YouTube. Before you join iGenius, let us consider a second fine that they've been issued by the regulatory apparatus of the United States government. Or in other words, the more things change, the more they remain the same. This relates to an entity within InvestView, the shell company that covers iGenius, called Apex, not an apex predator, but this company, Apex, which was reviewed in depth by the great and powerful Oz at Behind MLM 5 years ago. And listen, the organs of government digest slowly, do they not? It was also covered in depth by a terrific piece on YouTube, which has since been taken down. And I can't even find, it's possible the whole channel has been taken down, which really illustrated beautifully what has happened with this relationship of Apex. What is alleged is that there was a complicated cryptocurrency mining lease scheme. And what is alleged is that all of it was completely fraudulent. There was, in fact, no mining taking place. And after an extensive investigation by the SEC, the following was released on the 17th of January, 2025, which happens to be the eve of Martin Luther King weekend, a 3-day weekend in which the markets would be closed. I don't know if this was part of the negotiations so that it might limit the effect on the stock price of InvestView, but I believe that, in fact, might not be the case. And in my final slide, I will explain why. Here's an excerpt from the finding. In July 2019, InvestView launched the Apex program. And this is me speaking now, by the way. That was spearheaded by a guy named Jeremy Roma, R-O-M-A, who is a serial grifter. The Apex program purported to use, quote, Apex packs, close quote, to mine Bitcoin and perform other technology-related functions to generate returns, described as lease payments to investors. Investors purchasing interests in the Apex program entered into contracts to buy Apex packs from a wholly owned subsidiary of InvestView or a distributor of the Apex program, and simultaneously leased the Apex packs back to different InvestView wholly owned subsidiary, which would pay the investor directly or through a distributor a lease amount of $300 to $500 per month per Apex pack for 36 to 60 months. The interests in the Apex program would generate passive income for investors. I told you it was complicated. I'm not kidding. Item 5. InvestView was involved in various aspects of offering and selling the interests in the Apex program, including developing the structure of the program. The wholly owned InvestView subsidiary, to whom the equipment was leased, was responsible for costs, operations, and liabilities associated with running and maintaining the equipment that was supposed to generate returns for investors in the Apex program. And as I mentioned before, there is evidence to suggest that no such equipment, in fact, existed. Number 6, InvestView engaged in a general solicitation of investors when selling interests in the Apex program through YouTube videos and a press release that described the program and noted that it was available to everyone. InvestView also enlisted distributors who engaged in general solicitation when offering and selling interests in the Apex program. Between July 2019 and June 2020, InvestView raised approximately $21 million from more than 500 investors in various states from selling interests in the Apex program. And then items 8 and 9 suggest that such a sale is a violation of the Howey versus SEC test, in which, in other words, what was being sold was a security, and that security was unregulated, and it must be by U.S. law. And so here is the penalty. The respondent, this is part B, shall within 14 days of the entry of this order, that is within 14 days of the 17th of January 2025, pay a civil money penalty in the amount of $375,000 to the Securities and Exchange Commission for transfer to the general fund of the United States Treasury. And I suspect that InvestView made that payment forthwith. Now, I mentioned before that it could have been part of these negotiations to essentially settle on the spot with the SEC because they had no leg to stand on. That InvestView decided to make this the SEC agreed that the disclosure would be made on the eve of a 3-day trading weekend. But, in fact, if you look at January 17th in the middle of the graph here, the stock price really did not change enormously over the 2 days, 1.5 days of trading that have transpired since I mentioned, since this disclosure was made. The press releases came out at the end of the long weekend, and the stock price doesn't seem to budge. Why not? It could be that no one's paying attention. It could be that the market actually likes companies that fess up and pay their fines, or I suspect I'll go back to my original guess. I think people are not really paying attention. What's the bottom line for all of this, folks? Your skills, knowledge, and experience is way too valuable to waste in an MLM. That's all I've got. I'll see you in the next one.